Hey everyone, so I've got David here from Lunge Marketing over in the US, and here I am doing another one of these, raw interviews with him to get his opinion on Amazon, marketplace selling, and just understand a bit about what he does. So David, maybe we'll start with, you telling us about what you do in the e-commerce space.
You bet. So Lunge is a Seattle-based full-service e-commerce marketplace agency, helping our clients grow through the management and optimization of typically their advertising and marketing, content and creative, inventory and supply chain, brand control, account health, and we do this for Amazon, Walmart, Wayfair, Overstock, Home Depot, basically any marketplace site. And the short of it is we help brands maximize their sales across each of these platforms. And we do this by doing everything on their behalf, short of shipping the product. And we also absorb many of the costs for tooling and software and different things of that nature that they would require to manage a channel.
Interesting. That's a pretty broad selection of channels. I think when compared to other agencies in the US that are kind of very Amazon focused, is there any reason why it's so broad? I mean, it kind of brings me to my next question, which is how do you differ from other agencies? Is this one of your major points of differentiation?
Yeah, James, I've worked with marketplace agencies of all different sizes, from the multi-billion-dollar GMV level down to the kind of upstart Amazon consultancy and everything in between. So I've seen this world from just about every angle possible. And there's a handful of things that make Lunge unique, and certainly your read on being somewhat broad in terms of our marketplace platforms, certainly something that we have to keep in mind. But there's a handful of things that I think make Lunge different. Well, the first thing is that all of our clients receive a custom personalized scope of work, and they have a dedicated onshore team of experts that we've built over the 11 years that we've been around. And we have those folks working on their account day in and day out. A lot of these folks are ex-Amazon or have worked with marketplaces like Amazon in the past. Over the 11 years we've been around, we've been able to develop a lot of internal relationships within the four walls of Amazon HQ. So things like leveraging vendor manager relationships, and finding a sweet spot, basically just being able to get things done through those relationships, is something that a lot of other agencies struggle with or just won't touch at all. A few other things, we actually get really strategic with our accounts. So lots of groups out there are in the business of kind of checking off boxes on a list. We obviously have a heavy amount of execution that we do, but we also take time to get strategic and be an actual extension of their brand. That kind of manifests itself in ways like helping them with Amazon product catalog development. So looking for opportunities for different subcategories or new products or bundles or just variations of their existing catalog. We focus primarily on Vendor Central. So that's a little bit unique. A lot of the groups out there are very bullish and heavy on the Seller Central side. Our roots are in Vendor Central, and we found that we're extremely effective for our clients on that platform. So those are a handful of things that make us unique.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for sharing that detail. I think it does relate to my next question as well, which is, I think given how broad your agency is in terms of kind of channels served, what is your view on multi-channel selling beyond Amazon, at this point in time?
Yeah, so I think multi-channel selling or omni-channel selling, it's here to stay. And I think that we'll see fewer and fewer Amazon-only brands going forward. Much of that was accelerated during the pandemic, and that significant shift highlighted some deficiencies that both brands and marketplaces had ignored, things like production and manufacturing, supply chain, inventory management, inbound and outbound logistics, warehouse storage limitations. The biggest winners from all of this are the ones that were prepared with a strategy on each of these fronts. And we saw marketplaces like Instacart and Walmart.com see exponential growth, given the strength of their infrastructure and flexibility to quickly change and meet consumer demands. There's billions of dollars that are getting invested into the FBA aggregator space. of buying and selling brands. And each of these aggregators that I've spoken with all share the similar stance that having or being able to develop a multi-channel selling strategy is critical to the market growth opportunity of a brand, and has a high level of influence in how, in terms of how they value those brands. So that said, Amazon still makes up for 50% of all e-commerce sales. Can't forget that. But our stance is that you need to be proactive and aggressive about maximizing that opportunity and finding the ceiling before you, within Amazon, before you start to heavily invest in other marketplace channels.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, you know, about finding the ceiling. It's certainly very different over here in Australia, I might add. Like, you know, I think out of the gate, if you're a e-commerce seller, you know, you might actually start your whole journey on multiple channels just to diversify everything out of the gate. Like, you know, there is no ceiling to hit, you know what I mean? But yeah, very interesting to hear that. Which kind of brings me to my final question for you, which is, you know, given all this, you know, hot attention on the space with aggregators and omni-channel and all this, you know, where do you see marketplace selling evolving to in the next 12 months? Because I mean, 12 months ago, you know, I hadn't even heard of the word aggregator. So, you know, where do you see it kind of moving to in the next 18 months?
Yeah. So I think there's a handful of things that I think are, you know, we know of these things, but I think they'll continue to be more prominent in terms of just the day-to-day marketplace selling. The first one is video. So we already know the importance of video, especially to the mobile shopping experience, and with more consumers shifting their search and buying behavior away from desktops toward mobile devices. But I think we have yet to see the true impact of video content and how it will be leveraged as a marketing tool for brands. You know, Amazon just released a major update allowing video content to be featured inside the product detail page. And this might be one of the most kind of under-indexed changes and sort of new rollouts that we've seen from Amazon in the past couple of years with regard to video. Another thing that I see is the Amazon DSP. So, you know, the shift that we're seeing in markets toward consumer privacy, you know, at a public and private level, it's going to give Amazon, who already has more data on consumer shopping and purchase behaviors than anyone else, an even greater lead in the digital ad space. I mean, with Google deprecating the current version of cookies in Chrome by 2022, Amazon's data is going to become just that much more valuable and is likely going to be seen as a must-have in coming years. I think we saw a lot of inventory and supply chain disruption during the pandemic. I think we're going to continue to see inventory availability as an ongoing sort of dynamic that sellers and brands are going to have to be thinking about. You know, the latest estimates that I'm hearing for most of these issues getting resolved relative to container shortages and shipping delays and just general disruption is probably Q2 to Q3 of 2022. So we're going to see that long tail effect of COVID and government shutdowns. And brands that win, I think, are going to have either a domestic or sort of onshore solution or backup or other measures in place that allow them to circumvent their dependence on international supply chain. Inventory storage shrinking, I think, is another big thing. You know, Amazon's been aggressively expanding their footprint for distribution centers or fulfillment centers worldwide, but it hasn't caught up with consumer demand and inventory volumes. So brands saw storage availability shrink significantly in Q4 of 2020. And I think that we're going to continue to see that even more so, that kind of pinch on how much storage is available, or that marketplaces like Amazon are allowing brands to leverage. And I think the last thing, and this maybe gets a little bit tighter in with what we're seeing in terms of the aggregators, is just a talent shortage. Everyone in this space, so brands, agencies, aggregators, software providers, you know, are competing for top talent, you know, from the same pool and individuals that have a marketplace or especially an Amazon background, and they're finding it difficult to hire, you know, quality talent and hire that talent quickly. So this is kind of another just dynamic that's in play that's going to continue to present some challenges.
Yeah, look, thank you for that. I certainly enjoyed your comment about the talent shortage. It's certainly a very different lens to put on the where is this going in the next 12 months. And also a very interesting point about the kind of the availability of storage for Amazon sellers. I think I'd seen some, not rumors, but discussions on certain communities about, you know, where that's going, and is your IPI score going to be like a qualifier to pay to play for extra storage and all this kind of, anyway, all this kind of stuff. It's certainly going to be very interesting next 12 months. But look, I just wanted to sum up by saying thank you so much for joining and sharing your views. And look, I think I'd love to have you on again to kind of see if your predictions kind of come true. But
that'd
yeah,
be great.
Yeah, let's do that for sure. And if anyone's got any questions, just leave a comment below or reach out to Dave directly. I'm sure he'll be able to kind of build on what is left in this interview.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, James.
Cool.